everyone, and welcome to the Arthur Murray Lifestyle Series. I'm Victoria Regan, the Global Ambassador for Arthur Murray International. And Arthur Murray's is certainly an international company with over 300 studios around the world. And we happen to have a franchisee from Canada here today. And please welcome Anna Borshch. Hi,
Thank
Anna.
you, Victoria. Hi.
Now, I say a franchisee, but it's actually you and Anton, your husband
Yes.
and partner, who are franchisees of Ajax.
That's right.
Now, many people know you, of course, but maybe they don't know your history, that you're from Ukraine and Anton is from Lithuania.
That's right.
Briefly, well, let's say that if you're from Ukraine and he's from there, you must have started your dance career at a very early age.
We did, that's correct.
So tell us about that and how you met and got to the U.S.
Okay, to Canada.
To Canada.
Yeah.
To Canada first,
Yeah,
that's right.
okay, close
Sorry.
enough. So I started dancing when I was 8 and him when he was 5. And we started ballroom dancing as a separate journey. I was living already in Canada since the age of 9, and I'm a very tall girl, and ballroom dancing wasn't very big in Canada at that time. And I danced with all the tall guys, and there was no tall guy left. So I was 16 and I had no partner. And basically Anton came to me all the way from Russia just to try out. Through like a mutual teacher, we found each other because I needed somebody tall, and he's very tall. And he came to try out, and that was it.
And
he's stuck.
you know, you must have really clicked because you have had a great career, still continuing. Tell us about how that worked. You got together. He moved.
Yeah, he moved.
Obviously.
That's right, yeah.
And so, what were your competitive titles? And
yeah, so we focused on the international ballroom program, and we were Canadian champions and professionals for 10 times in a row. So that was nice. Once we hit the 10th time, we're like, okay, good. This is good enough. We don't need an 11th. And worldwide, we made semifinals in Blackpool and also in the world. So I was pretty happy with that.
Such a great experience, you know, when you have that success. At that time, were you still teaching a lot? You were not involved with Arthur Murray's yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you were still teaching, though, and doing shows, I assume.
Yeah, we were teaching. I was basically teaching from the age of, like, from the moment I could communicate with adults, from like 15, 13, from way back then. But now that I reflect back on what I was teaching, since I got training in Arthur Murray, I thought, oh, my poor students. What was I teaching them back then? Getting the Arthur Murray training really changed my mindset.
Well, that's a great testimonial, which leads us to how did you both get involved with Arthur Murray's? Because obviously you'd been with other studios, maybe taught in other studios.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so when we were planning to retire, our main coach at the time was Massimo Giorgiani. He was one of our main coaches in professionals. And he suggested to us that if you guys want to open a studio, it should be with Arthur Murray's because they've got a great business model, and we didn't have any business training. We just danced all our lives, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Something is already there that works for many years. And we really trusted in him. We said, okay, well, if he suggests that, that's probably the right answer.
Yeah, it's completely self-contained, isn't it? It has everything for training. You found that when you obviously then called John Kimmins.
Yeah, we called John Kimmins, and then he directed us to one of the best studios in the world, which was Jill DeMarlo's. He just said, go into that studio and just see what it's like. And honestly, Vicky, that was actually the moment when we realized that this is the way to go. Because when we first stepped into her studio, just the ambience of it and the professionalism, just the way all the teachers were dressed, even just the fact that lessons were starting on time. Back when we were teaching before Arthur Murray's, I would always be late for a student for like 20 or 30 minutes, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. I'd be like, I'm late 30 minutes today, no big deal, right? So even just being on time and the professionalism, like when we saw that, we thought, okay, we want a studio like that, because we've been to so many different studios throughout our lives, but we've never seen such professionalism.
Well, that's great for everyone that's watching to know. Most of the people that watch this series are, you know, franchisees, teachers, and directors, but it's on YouTube after we tape. So hopefully those looking for a career can get that message.
Yeah.
So that was your final decision after going to her studio, and then you went to Ajax. You opened in Ajax.
Yeah, so we've gone to her studios a few times also to get training. That was our main source of training, and then we opened in Ajax, that's right.
So that was in what,
2016?
16. By that time, had you both married?
Yeah, we got married in 2011.
Yes, so congratulations. It's worked out well.
Yeah.
So 2016, and from that point on, did you keep dancing and competing?
We competed for just one more year and then we retired because we really wanted to dedicate all our time and energy towards the studio.
Yeah. And you obviously have got some good students that kept you going. When you started the process, it's one thing training, but when you started the process from, transitioning as a dancer primarily to the business, did you find that you were prepared for that when you opened?
Well, that's a really good question. I had no idea what it entailed. And then I realized that a business owner studio owner is very different than just a teacher. Mm-hmm. There's actually not so much dancing involved, right? That's what I learned. They're like, where did all the dancing go? So all the teachers out there, enjoy your life as a teacher. Because when you run a studio, you're not going to be dancing so much. So that's why Anton and I kept dancing as a hobby with each other. Mm-hmm. So we still dance every single morning. One of our passions, which is the Argentine tango, and that's what keeps the romance between us. And also it's a great testimonial to all our students that even though it's our job, we still do it as a hobby.
And that happened, I think, last year we had a short interview. Yeah. That happened during COVID.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so most people either didn't do anything or you were the smarter ones in that you discovered Argentine tango and as a hobby. Now, you worked with a champion from Argentina, is that right?
Yeah,
online.
So actually, one of the champions, he was from Russia actually, and they were living in Russia, and they won the World Championships in Argentina before, and it was always my dream to train with him, but I never knew how to make it possible. And when everything closed down, I noticed that he started teaching online, and I'm like, okay, let me try the lessons. And at that time, our kid was very small. He was like under a year old. So we would time his naps with the lessons. If we knew the lesson was at 1, we're like, okay, by 1 you have to be sleeping. And it was all at home. We were doing it from the kitchen. And when we did it, we learned a very complicated choreography like that in a dance that you think is all about feeling, and we're able to do it all online. And then when we really believe that it works, we transferred all of that to our studio. And basically 2 weeks into COVID, we changed all our lessons to online because we ourselves felt that, okay, this is really working. So our students need to do this.
So where are you now with you're still doing it as a hobby? You get up every morning and still rehearse?
Yeah.
Yeah, and mainly the Argentine tango, or you do your ballroom stuff also?
Ballroom, smooth, sometimes I even do bachata, zouk, you name it. I found that actually Arthur Murray's opened me to the world of just dance in general, because I always liked to go out salsa dancing, but Arthur Murray's kind of forced me to learn all the different styles, to teach to the students and then to the staff. And I like to do things in an authentic way. So whenever I had to learn Argentine tango, I flew to Argentina to learn it even more. Same thing when it comes to zouk, I would take online lessons or any kind of extra lessons to understand the dancing more. Because for me, it's not about one style, it's just about two people connecting to each other to music. Yeah. And finding that connection with your partner. It doesn't matter what style you do.
And social dancing does that. Arthur Murray brings that to the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And certainly from Ukraine and Lithuania, they didn't, or they still don't really have social dancing, do they? It's formal international
so long
stuff.
Ago. Yeah, it's
yeah,
international.
I think so. I think it's probably still all international.
Right.
A good question that I think we can spend a little bit of time on, because our viewers, or if it was a commercial, and you were advising dancers, non-dancers that wanted to find a career, because sometimes, or often, I've said this a couple times, we meet a lot of people and they are shocked when they say you have a fantastic life in dance as a career. What would you tell them? I mean, you might want to look into that camera, and if people are watching that are non-dancers or dancers, or in your mind, what would you tell them about Arthur Murray's?
Well, what I would tell them is I see people in 3 categories. I think you can divide all the people in these 3 categories. So one is nothing to do at all with dancing. Most of the population is that, right? And then they grow up and then never had anything to do with dancing. Then we have the struggling artist, the struggling dancer that wants so much to dance but can't possibly imagine how you can make a life out of it. And then there's the prima donna dancers, or the very, very successful dancers, like we have Augusto in our company, who achieve something and they want to maybe keep going in that direction. So I think for all 3 categories, Arthur Murray's can offer a career. Because the first category, if you became a world champion, again, I don't need to go very far to look at Augusto in our company, that if you don't need to be the product for the rest of your life, right? That's something that he realized, and I realized that myself with Anton, that we're champions, but then years go by and people forget that champion, then there's new champions. So I don't want to be the product, right? I want my staff and the studio and the Arthur Murray name to be the product. Then if you're a struggling dancer artist, you know, they might not even imagine that you can actually make a career out of it. Some people think, okay, I'm just going to be poor forever because I love this so much and I can never make money out of it. So Arthur Murray's is perfect for that because it combines the two. And then the last category is people that have nothing to do with dance and they grow up thinking that I might never dance. How can I possibly do something like this? And some of our staff that we have now are very successful and they had nothing to do with dance. And it was inspiring for me to take people that have nothing to do in dance in their childhood and give them a dancer career, which if you just talk to somebody on the airplane, they might be like, that's crazy. How could that possibly happen? But Arthur Murray's has the tools to create that.
Perfect. All of that is so good, and we hope that people watching, you know, will really listen to that, because especially I think the competitive dancers, right? That transition is always so challenging. What are they going to do? You can teach for 10 lessons a day, traveling, but this is a great company to be with, as you.
For competitor dancers, I think the most important thing is to put away your ego, right? To put away the personality, and like you achieved so much yourself as a dancer, but at some point that's not so important. And if you think that's the only thing that's going to make you a living, that's very limiting, because you can train 10 other people to do that, and maybe even better than you. Right?
Yeah, you have really nailed it down. You've experienced it, and you yourself have learned you have a great life here, coming here. Of course, you started, you know, in Canada early, but if, you know, we have maybe one or two more questions, but is there anything else you'd like to share? There's so many things about yourself, both you and Anton, and about how you spend your time, but we can maybe cover that another time. Is there anything else you would want to add about the company, or what you know, your life, or your life, how it's given you pleasure?
My life has given me pleasure,
yeah,
yes. Well, I think joining Arthur Murray's was one of our best decisions. I really am grateful that we did that, because also the people that I met, including you and all the different professionals, and how everybody's just so helpful. Like anytime we have a problem, I pick up the phone and whoever I call, they're always ready to give me all the answers because somebody else has gone through the same problems. So it's a great, great company to join.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And we will tell Anton we missed him. Anton, we missed you.
Yes.
But we will see him soon with you two together, and hopefully in a show.
Yes, for
I
sure.
loved talking to you. Thanks.
Thank you so
and
much
for all
for
of you
being-
watching, thank you very much. We always have a great time.